few different hats. My mission is one, to fulfill God's will. The way that happens is that I've been born in a time when the Jewish people are being regrouped, total recall by God to bring the Jewish people to the land of Israel. I started in college. After I was in the Israeli army, I went to college here in America. I started seeing that the Jewish people are kind of stuck here in America, and they're reading the book of Deuteronomy, which calls on them to come back to the land of Israel. And yet somehow they think that they're home. And America is a great country, but it's not home for the Jewish people. And so I started with this passion to try to wake up Jews to the exciting prospect, the romantic prospect of being part of the most exciting project of the Jewish people in 2,000 years, which is Jewish homeland, Jewish sovereignty on the land of Israel. So we started with that. We started an organization called Kuma, which means arise, arise. And that's what it meant, and also stood for Americans Return to Zion. That's how we started. Got to Israel, and I became part of Israel National Radio, which is the nationalistic, patriotic voice that calls on Jews to be proud, strong, come home. And I started going on this speaking tour. And we had to come up with a good name for that, and that was called Eye on Zion. Eye on Zion, keep your eye on Zion. Just like in the Israeli song Hatikva, in our national anthem, it says Ayin Letzion, an eye to Zion. So Eye on Zion. And I've been blessed to work together with a leadership organization called Manhigut Yehudit, which means Jewish leadership. And they're trying to push ahead a new platform in Israel. And I'm working together with them on this tour. And we're going around speaking, turning on Jews, exciting them, reminding them, getting them to feel again, kind of putting a heart of flesh where a heart of stone might have been kind of set in. And we're getting our Christian friends who are excited, but sometimes confused by the policies of Israel, sometimes also fearful by the other Christians or Muslims that are moving in. So we're turning them on, and we're giving them a platform to fight for. And when I give a young Christian who's in college a platform to fight for, I empower that person. I give that person a sense that not only does he love Israel, but he fights for Israel. And when a person fights for Israel, or for anything, they feel like they can. And they grow up to be individuals that are strong, that can do. So this is a gift, the opportunity. God could have done it all himself. But he's giving us a gift to be part of his process. He wants us to create the world with him. And that's the greatest gift that God has given us. He's given us life and really a chance to live life. You know, we always talk about accepting the yoke of heaven. The yoke of heaven. Well, think about it. An animal without a yoke is just an animal that's grazing. But put a yoke on it, it takes all that power and turns it to something. It turns into a useful, energy-efficient, work-making thing. And so we say, God, give us a yoke. That means give us an opportunity to work for you. And let us pull our weight in this world. Let us be effective. That's all we ask for. We ask for actual meaning in this world. So I think that this is a gift from God, the challenges that Israel faces. It's a gift for us, for the people who love God and love Israel, to do something about it, to fight for Israel. When you go to heaven, God will say to you, yeah, you fought for Israel. Thank you so much. So you have an opportunity in this life. Well, first thing, with regard to the Jews in Israel that are afraid, you have to understand them. And I think Christians that want to get closer to Israel have to be a little bit patient. 2,000 years of persecution, you just don't overcome that in 1 second. So I want, and sometimes I get Christians who get upset, with Jews, and I say to them, a little bit of patience, a little bit of understanding. I know you're excited about Israel, and you're right to be excited because it is very exciting, but give them a little bit of warmth. Teach them that they don't have to fear anything. And even within Christianity, there are those people who feign a friendship but really want something alternative. So build trust, build bridges. I happen to be a very open-minded person. I don't come from a provincial background, and I have met amazing Christians, and they come, I find, in all kinds of colors and stripes. Christians are a very non-monolithic group of people. And everything from homeschooling folks to evangelicals, and they're coming. And when they come to Israel, you see that they have a true heart for Israel. And you have to have a lot of self-confidence in order to deal with these strangers who, for a long time, were not your friends. And also the church's very philosophy was anti-Israel. And people, there was a doctrine of the witness that the only reason you guys are around is in order so that to show you that you screwed up. Now we know that we're a different kind of witness. We're a witness to God and his love of the Jewish people and his love of Jerusalem. And something is happening, and there are true-hearted people who want to be part of this movement. And the reason I know it is a biblical and a godly movement is because it has sprouted up in different places independent of one another. So you have a lot of Christians who are suddenly saying, yeah, I want my Jewish roots, I want to defend Israel, and they're coming in different places at the same time. That means that God is putting that idea out there. And I think God in general, if I can, analyze God, if he'll permit me, he is making himself known in this time. And the way he's making himself known is through the rebirth of the Jewish people in the land of Israel. There is a call to all peoples right now to be part of the story of Jerusalem. There's no question about it. It wouldn't be in this media-hyped era. It wouldn't be a country that is just reconstituting itself so miraculously. It wouldn't be the fulfillment of all prophecies, if it wasn't a worldwide movement. And the Jewish people are also coming from different places, from different parts of the world. In the Arab countries, they said, get out of here, go to Jerusalem. In Russia, they said, we're not going to let you leave. You'll never go to Jerusalem. And in America, when they send you off with love and they say you're going home, that's something very different. It means that I take it kind of very literally. And I have a good friend who told me that has happened to him, that Christians would just grab hold of his four-cornered garment, his tzitzit, and they'd say, listen, bring us closer to God. I stand at the Western Wall, and I see people speaking, a black person from Africa speaking in English out loud, and he just says, God, please bless my family. Please be with me. I've come to you here. And I think to myself, this guy's got it. He's got it. So the four-cornered garment, by the way, it's an interesting thing. You mentioned this. For 2,000 years, it's been all white. We have lost the tradition of how to have the blue string. And the blue string, the return of the blue string and the return of the science of the blue string and how to do it and how we did it, and the fish that we use, the snails that we use to make that happen, it also shows the rebirth of the Jewish people. What do I mean? Sometimes they find these animals that are underneath the earth, deep underneath the earth, and they're like clear, they don't have any color, right? When they come out of the ground, they have to develop some kind of pigmentation. We've been buried. And we're coming out. We're having pigmentation. I always call us people of color. We have now the blue color, and that's the flag is blue and white. That's why it is blue and white, because of the white strings and the blue strings. And the fact that this tzitzit issue, which is, by the way, these tassels, they're senseless. We don't understand them. But God says this is the way to be. God says mankind will understand it better with time. It means to me that the fact that Christians throughout the world are seeing this, it means that we're coming to that time of greater understanding. And at the same time, we're coming to a time when there's a clash of all the peoples that hate. So even within Christendom, there's a tremendous schism. And there's splitting up families, and it's splitting up churches, and it's splitting up towns. And there's, as this love is brewing, a hate's coming down to meet it. And it's very visceral. So there's a war on, and sometimes that war is in a family home. So there's the people, I think a lot of people are getting it. Some people are getting it for the good, others are getting it for the bad. I mean, the best haters of Israel have always gotten it. They know that, Hitler said about the Jewish people, he said, they're the conscience of the world. I got to get rid of them. The good people are going to bless the Jewish people and are going to be part of this miracle rebirth. And we're going to take steps, concrete steps to make it happen. They're going to feel not only that they're a passive role, that they're, the Jew may be taking them to Jerusalem, but when they get to Jerusalem, it's time to talk to God. It's showtime. It's showtime for Christians as well. And it's time to step up and hear the call. I think in this country, this is a country that constantly reinvents itself. It's a country that does not believe that information comes top down. It always believes in the power of the people. It's the amazing experiment of the founding forefathers of America, who believed that government can, with too much power, can be corrupt, and then we always have to have checks and balances. The greatest check against government is the will of the people. And I think the people have to see that America is a great country, but it's doing not such great things. when it comes to Israel today, on the one hand, there is support in Congress and in the people, but the government of America has some very bad ideas, very bad policies that it's promoting. I think also that supporting Palestine today is really supporting the next war. It's supporting the destruction of Israel. Palestine, by its own admission, is not a movement for Arab self-determination, but it's a movement that guises itself for Arab self-determination, but really is for the determination to kill the Jewish people, to destroy Israel. Anti-Semitism is very wisely has transitioned itself to anti-Israelism. That makes perfect sense. Israel is the capital of the Jewish people. Israel is the strength of the Jewish people. Our unity in Israel is the most powerful force in the world. So correctly, anti-Semites have targeted Israel as the capital of good, and they want to kill it, as they want to kill God. So they want to kill the Jewish people, and they want to destroy Jerusalem. I think America doesn't want that. So if any president or administration or State Department is part of the policy to destroy Israel, people of America should stop that. Americans have the right to have a government that represents them. And so that would be the second thing I would ask for, not to support the two-state solution, to support a one-state solution, that is the Jewish people in the land of Israel. And lastly, I would rescue our kids from the cancer that grows on campus and tries to take their minds away, the brainwashing effort that is underway with tremendous focus, money, and strategy to take our kids' minds, to teach them a culture of suppression, oppression, an Islamic version of the world, a hate for Israel, an intolerance for mankind, certainly not the Judeo-Christian belief, the Jewish belief, that all people have intrinsic value. So this is not the value system we want our kids to buy into. And they're going to grow up hating Israel, and then they're going to grow up hating America, and then they're going to grow up hating themselves. So let's teach them good values, and let's save our country from this evil that has really taken root. And again, the evil folks are serious, and they take their time to analyze where it needs to be struck, and they are striking the campuses because that's where our children are weak, and they want to co-opt our children to their cause, and they're very serious about it. The answer is that governments, and Americans should know that best, don't always represent the will of the people. In Israel, the government has been voted in twice now on a nationalistic platform, on a patriotic platform, and has constantly gone to the other side. So our votes are being stolen away from us. So I think when a Christian or anybody says to Israel, hey, be strong, they can know that the people of Israel are behind them. And that's what they want. On top of it, I think that the other side, the bad guys, are always opinionated and loud. It's only the good guys who are like, well, I don't know if I should give my opinion because Israel's got a right to make its own decisions. But the bad guys are always making their voices heard. So make your voice heard. If you think that, we as Israelis, you have your right to your opinion. Make it heard. We as Israelis have a right to discount it. But if you say, no, Israel, I think you're making a mistake, I think that's good. I think sometimes there's an old saying in Yiddish, as it is about the Christians, it goes with the Jews. So, if Christians make their opinion heard and is loud, I think that people will respond. And I just think that people have a right to an opinion in general. And I tell you as a Jew that I want to see more. I have seen Israeli politicians change their opinion because of their Christian friends who take them to parts of Israel that they've never been to. I have an important politician friend who has a completely different relationship to me because he's been taken to Shiloh by his Christian friends. He's like, all right, yeah, I do understand what you're talking about. And he's been influenced. So we need the good folks to work on all cylinders, not to be embarrassed. Say what's on your mind. Don't let, leaders that aren't real leaders lead. If you're a leader with your voice, make that voice heard. We got to get the Jewish people turned on. If the Jewish people aren't turned on, everybody else is just, spinning their tires. You got to have the Jewish people on board with this thing. And, there's a psalm that says we were as dreamers, right? When God returned the Jews to Zion, we were as dreamers. Usually it means that it was a dream come true. But some commentators explain, no, we were like dreaming. We were sleeping. We were zombies walking through it. And God, after 2,000 years of prayers, God has actually brought us back. But sometimes those prayers become we stop believing them. They become this dream. But no, God's making the dream come true. And people are still sleepwalking. You can take an El Al plane today, flown by an Israeli jet fighter pilot. to the land of Israel, get on a road from Tel Aviv up to Jerusalem, wind up through the mountains, go through the gates of Jaffa Gate, feel that energy immediately of getting close to where God resides, his home. That's what it says in the Psalms, and we take that for granted. So we can't do that any longer. And I'll give you just one example. We have recently found the Second Temple prayer house, the synagogue of the Maccabees. It's actually in the town of Modi'in, as is written in the book of Maccabees. Everything is there. And it's incredible and it's impressive. And the township of Modi'in is considering burying it under sand in order to keep it preserved, because they don't have the money or the time right now to unearth it. So I tell them, you got it all wrong. We've been buried for 2,000 years. We're coming out of our graves. We're reconstituting and restoring the past. And if we're going to do that, we're going to fight for that Maccabee synagogue. We're going to make it a beautiful place. And then we're going to tell the stories of the Maccabees. And then you know what we're going to do? We're going to turn young Jewish people in Israel into Maccabees. They're going to feel that spirit, because we're going to make that spirit alive. Without it, if we bury it, then our spirit buries and we just fall asleep. We can't bury the spirit of the Jewish people. A lot of people want to bury the spirit of the Jewish people right now. So we're working on this Maccabee synagogue. We're going to make it alive. We're going to make it attractive. We're going to turn people on. Then we're going to, on Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights, we're going to do big events. We're going to have you and other people come, friends of Israel, and Bibi Netanyahu. You know, he'll probably be our representative of the UN or something, where he belongs. And we're going to light the candles. Everybody in Israel, we're going to bring the lowly Russian Jewish woman who, you know, has made it out from behind the Iron Curtain to be together with us. And we're going to go to the town of Modi'in, halfway between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. We're going to bring the Jewish people together in unity. And I want to say one more thing, which is unity is so important. And I feel that this country is in a very painful process, a very great schism and rift that's happening here. And Israel's also in a great rift. And you know what heals rifts? Jerusalem. Because Jerusalem is made of two things: Jeru, Yeru, and Shalem. Yeru is like fear, awe of God. And Shalem is like peace and goodness. Now, peace is a little like, it sounds a little bit to me like the combination of conservatives and liberals. What do conservatives want? They want awe. They want a reversion to the past. They want to hold the course. What do kind of hippies want? They want peace and love. They want all the good things in the world. Well, Jerusalem has got both sides. We have the following of the ancient path, going to a glorious future based on the biblical principles, and yet there's something about it which really is a world consciousness of goodness, which really has this greater kind of consciousness, greater thought that's happening within it. And maybe the hippies had something that got kind of screwed up along the way. Maybe it got kind of sickened, but maybe they wanted, you know, a better world. Maybe even the communists wanted a better world, but they got it messed up. We have inside of us a will for a greater consciousness of a peace, a brotherhood in mankind. And one day, that brotherhood is going to be centered around Jerusalem. And all the people from all the different parts of the globe are going to come up. And that's why Jerusalem and Israel and Judaism and the friends of that are really the religion of peace. Because our vision is for goodness for all mankind, the opposite of repression. It's a vision for value of all mankind and coming together to greet our Father in heaven, in Jerusalem. My wife was pregnant, and it was a miracle for us. It wasn't easy for us to get pregnant, and it happened. And childbirth in general is just a miracle, isn't it? And everything was going so well. The pregnancy, once it started, it was going smooth, on track. And the ninth month came, and the day came, and we went to the hospital, and everything was going well. But at the very end there, we needed intervention. And I saw with my eyes how childbearing and childbirth could bring to the death of a woman and death of the child so easily. And we needed that intervention. We needed the doctor who knew his stuff to help make it happen, to help bring the child out safely. And then when the child was born, they put a little straw in her nose and took out whatever gunk was in the lungs. And they just made her live. They just made her live. In Israel's the same thing. It's a great miracle. It's beyond us. We can't understand it. We don't understand God. He has promised the Jewish people that after a great dispersal, he will bring them back to the land of Israel. And it's all happening. And it's following exactly the course of the prophets. And we could just sit back and say, well, God's doing it. But God says, no, I want you to get involved. I want you to be the doctor that delivers this baby. I want you to get involved at the end here and make sure it goes smooth. God wants us involved. He doesn't want to do it himself. He could have made us robots or angels, but he wants us to be in this world, in this lower domain, in this lower plane. He wants us to get involved, and that's to our greatest credit. That's our greatest opportunity, to be the servants of God who actually serve him and not just worship him. So we got to be the doctors. We got to help Israel make it. There are lots of challenges out there, and we should not take them for granted, and we should not think to ourselves that this is a sure thing, and God's going to do it, and everything's solid. No. I woke up in the morning, and I said, what can I do for Israel today? People say to me, Yishai, there's so much division in your country. Jews are against one another, are fighting one another, and the politics there, it's just so friction-laden. It's horrible. And I say to them, there's so many things, so many healings that you just don't see. You just don't see that every day it's getting better and that our society is just slowly but surely coming together. You know, we're a very young country. We've been away from one another for 2,000 years. We've been in disparate places. So we're coming from Yemen, we're coming from America, we're coming from Russia, we're coming from Poland, we're coming from South Africa. We're slamming together in a little hot plate, a little melting pot in a tiny country smaller than Jerusalem. It's smaller than New Jersey, I'm sorry. And so people don't see what I see, which is, well, I have a metaphor for it. I had a cut right here. It was a big gash, and it took weeks and weeks for it to heal. And every time I looked at it, I couldn't see that it was actually healing. I couldn't see the micro betterment of the cells every day, the healing. But every day got a little bit better. Every day got a little bit better until today. The miraculousness of the healing has done its work, and it's all one. My hand is better. So Israel's the same thing. You got to be patient with it. It's all happening. It's all happening. The Jewish people are getting back together, and we're starting to understand each other. We're starting to speak each other's languages. We're starting to get on the same page. You just have to have some patience. You have to have some patience for this process. God's process is long, and you have to just ask yourself, where am I on this process? What link on this chain am I? Sure, we all want to see the final days, and maybe God will help us merit to see it. But the question is, what can I do? Where's my little healing? And you're asking a lot about Christians and Jews, and there's a healing. So be patient. We're going to get there. But we can't demand it now. We just got to demand of ourselves. What can we do? My father had 3 children. Myself, my sister, and my brother. And from time to time, rarely, we would all come home and be home at the same time. There was a period of a few years where we were all living in the same area, and we would come home. And I noticed that every time we would come home, my dad would promptly go to sleep. He would just lie down on the couch and pass out. And after a while, I just came and I said to him, Dad, what's going on with you? Why are you, every time we come home, you go to sleep? You have a sleep problem, or what's going on? He said to me, no. When you kids are all home together, I just feel so calm. I'm just so happy. It's my best sleep time. I feel so relaxed, so good. And that made me think about our Father in heaven, who has yearned for so long to see us come back together. And he has given us a homeland that we're not rooted on Teflon. We're rooted deep in the soil. And he wants to see us come back together again. He wants us to see us come together and to love one another, because a parent loves to see when his children love each other. That gives them what we call in Jewish nachas, a good place, a good sense in the soul. So let's give our Father in heaven that opportunity to feel that nachas. Let's do something for him. He's done so much for us. He's given us our bodies, our souls, our intellects, everything in our life comes from God. What can we do for him to give back a little? So he's given us an opportunity that has been long awaited, long prayed for. Let's do it. And don't live with guilt. I meet so many 85-year-olds who tell me, I should have made it to Israel. I had a chance. I was on kibbutz, and there was this girl, but I didn't marry her, and I moved back to America. And I say, don't live with guilt. Live now. Live in the now. You got the calling, you hear it, you hear my words, and you think, yes, I can. So yes, you can. And I'll see you next summer. Get on the plane. You can do it. You can do it. And I want to be your neighbor. I'm not looking down at American Jews and telling them, no, shame on you for not, making Aliyah and coming to Israel. That's not it. It's not a guilt movement. This is an opportunity movement. This is a revolution. This is a chance of a lifetime. This is a chance to live a fulfilled life. This is a chance to give your children the opportunity not to assimilate out. This is a chance to give your children respect for you because you took that heroic move. And you picked up and you were older and you didn't speak Hebrew and you weren't sure about the economics and you did it for God and you did it for your kids and you did it for your family. And one time I gave a speech in Wayne, New Jersey, and I said to them, after this rousing speech, I said to them, you should all make Aliyah. They said to me, no. And I said to them, maybe you should buy an apartment in Jerusalem. And they just said to me, no. I said, come visit me this summer in Israel. I'm like, no. I said, consider being buried in Israel. And they said to me, how much is it? And that's wonderful. A Jew knows that he's supposed to be buried in his homeland. And he knows that that's the place where he's going to have eternal rest. And it's a great place to die, but it's also a great place to live. And it's time to live it. It's time to live it fully. It's time to make it happen and be part of it.